The following program was produced by an independent community producer. The opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the ECAT staff or board of directors.
Come to you from underneath a peach blossom. It's time for an episode of BeAuSm. Find positivity throughout your life and work. Just like our mascot rooster, Steve the Jerk.
Hello, BeAuSm listeners, viewers, watchers, followers, likers, anybody that's part of our podcast here. I'm your host, Joshua Peach, and we are trying something different here thanks to my amazing friend here, Adam at Easton Community Access Cable, ECAT. We are recording a whole bunch of episodes because over the last couple of months, the last episode we did was Auntie Zaza's March 31st. And we're in September. And so we want to keep this thing going. We're going to do 4 or 5 episodes at a clip. And I'm on the 3rd recording, and I'm excited. My voice is probably getting a little bit tired, but I'm so excited to have today's guest. We've been trying to have an episode here for I've been pushing for almost a year to get them on here. And I learned about their program and just thought it was amazing to share with our listeners and with the world. So Erin Gaughen, I put a post on LinkedIn probably a year or so ago talking about a program that she had started with her friend and coworker, Denise Franzen, and she's going to fill in the blanks on this stuff. I'm going to tell you my side of the story. And she put a post about starting a program for their kids who were in the 5th grade at the time of COVID, and any grade that a child was in during COVID. That was a traumatic event for everybody, but for kids, it knocked a lot of them out of whack with how they felt, where they feeling in, what they were feeling a part of, isolation, a million different things were side effects of COVID. And so Erin and Denise started a program called the In-Between, or In-Betweeners. The In-Between. Started a program for their kids, and they expanded it, and it's open to anybody. And I read the post and I learned about it, and they happen to have a space in the Y that was provided for them, which I am on the board of governors for the local Y. So I called over and asked some information about it, and come to find out that Erin and Denise work where I first worked at Will Work Inc., an exhibit group and general contracting company here in the town of Easton. Billy Nixon, the owner there, is a dear friend, a great human being, and they work there together. And so there's all these little pieces of putting it together. And we have Erin here today to talk about the program, why it started, what it's all about, their vision. We won't call it strategic vision yet, but their vision of where they want to be. They're going to get there. Mm-hmm. And why it's so important that programs like this exist and need to exist, not just in Easton, but in other places. So I hope that was a proper introduction, Erin.
You did a fantastic job.
Yeah. So welcome to the podcast. This is your first podcast.
Yes.
This was where a little bit of the hesitation was. You thought you didn't know what you were walking yourself into.
Yep.
Totally get it. I don't know what I'm walking myself into on most days. But tell us a little bit about, let's go back. Let's go back to, let's talk about, probably the last 3 or 4 years and where the buildup was, or what you were seeing that made you realize that, maybe some traditional programs weren't where your kids wanted to be, or what all that stuff is.
So, I just want to say that I am missing my better half, Denise Franzen. She's a lot more articulate with relaying information, and she's just lovely. So she is the reason why I got a job at Will Work, because she had posted on the mom's page, and we had connected years before with another social group. Both of us had Jacks at the time in 2nd grade, and both were struggling socially, but it was a paid group. So anyway, fast forward, got the job at Will Work, and last summer I realized that just talking to people, I love talking to people, and I was noticing people were struggling to get through their day. And the more I thought of that, the more it made me realize, well, if we're struggling to get through a day, then how are the kids doing? Are they feeling the same thing that we're feeling? Are we paying attention? How much are they noticing? So it made me worried, because my son had struggled in 5th and 6th grade with bullying, and he was about to enter 7th grade, and I didn't want him, I just wanted him to be okay. So I started talking in the office about my thought on society and people, and Denise just started talking to me about, I've been trying to get a group going, trying to meet at the local park, and it happens maybe once, but then they don't show up the next week. And she was struggling to help her son make connections. So we just started talking, and came up with this idea. I approached Denise the next morning, and I said, what if we approach the Y? Because I had worked at the Y when I first moved to this town, which was like the greatest decision I could have ever made, because I, to be honest, did not love people before. And in the training, the director, Darcy Paiva, had said, everyone that walks through that door, say hello and say goodbye, because that could literally be their only conversation in a day.
Yep.
So I took that to heart and started making connections. And I had a good enough relationship with Darcy that I knew we could approach her on this, because I know the kind of person she is and the amazing things that the Y does for our community. So I texted Darcy. I said, I have an idea. Can we talk? She said, absolutely. So I approached her about my concern. And I said, I know that there are kids that don't have friends. They don't play a sport. Or they don't play an instrument, or they literally just don't know how to make connections. They're not given that opportunity, or they don't take it. I don't know. So I asked her if we could use, because I know they had just set up a teen room. I saw a post, and I said, is there any way we could just use that space, a few hours a week? And that's how it all started. There was no hesitation in her answer. Only concern from Darcy and the Y, is this, she was saying, this is an issue. This is a need for the community. And I said, absolutely. I had experienced bullying as a kid, and, I'm not the only one I know that feels this way. That trauma stays with you. You know what I mean? When you're bullied. And in the 80s, they never addressed that. In the 90s, they started talking about it. In the 2000s, everyone's aware of bullying, but they're not there yet. And until they get there, then, we'll do what we have to do. So we came up with a game plan for Wednesdays. Now, mind you, we have not figured everything out yet. We're still in the middle of doing that, like transportation and such. So what we do is we meet right outside the school grounds, and on Wednesdays, and we take a walk down to the Y. And our thought was, in that time, the kids can bond. That started in October. We had about 4 or 5 kids. We had reached out on the local moms page. But mind you, in doing that, I was very apprehensive about how to do it the right way, because I didn't want to put a flyer or an ad out, because not to be negative, but I didn't know if it would get in the wrong hands, be fuel for fire, right. Whatever. So we were meticulous about the way we got our information out in the group, and had some conversations. And so the group started in October of last year, and it was about 4 kids. So we run it every Wednesday, and we're now at about, I think, 14 kids, give or take, one or two.
All same grade, different grades?
So they're different grades. It was meant to be a middle school program, but we don't turn any of the kids away. So like sometimes siblings will come, which we try not to always do because we want the older kids to have their time. But we have parents that have reached out to us, like 4th, 5th graders that want to join, and so we don't turn them away. And if we had high school kids that wanted to join, we would never turn them away. So the concept is just, it's literally what I stressed to Darcy and Denise in starting this, was that we didn't want it to be anything like school. We just wanted them to know that they had a safe place. Sorry, I know I'm all over the place, but when I was doing my research, we were going to have this start at go 5 to 7, but I found that that window of time, the 3 to 5, 6 o'clock hour for kids in middle school, that tends to be when the parents start to feel comfortable enough to leave them alone. So, even driving around town, you'll see kids at just hanging out because there's nowhere to go.
Right.
So we wanted to provide a safe place for them to go, the teen room at the Y, where they could just decompress, chill out. We had a local store, Emporium in Easton, phenomenal. The man that runs that, Eric, has always been very kind to me. When I was working at the Y, he made donations and such. So we reached out to him and said, we want to purchase some of these things for the teen room. And he gave us way more. He was so generous. So we made this room for them. Darcy got beanbag chairs. We tried to kind of think, what would they want? What would make them comfortable? And so the first meeting was all of the parents and Darcy as well, and we didn't know what to do. We just started talking, and we were talking, and I finally realized the kids looked so bored. So I said to Darcy and Denise, let's just step outside, give them some space. Literally within the first 60 seconds, they were laughing, and the parents were out of the room so they could have fun. And that was the moment they started bonding.
Yeah. And so there's a lot to kind of bring.
Sorry.
So no, so I think one of the things that you said was they're not there yet about bullying, and I think it's we're not there yet. I think all of us. I think it's everybody, and I think it's people that were bullied, and I think it's people that were bullied and bullying. I think it's a total mindset, and it's a lot of work. It's a collaboration. It's removing the blame. And I was bullied, and I bullied people. I'm sure. I know I did.
Right.
I know I did. I know I did.
The same way.
I have a traumatic event to tell me that I did. That was awful. The way that I found out, one of the ways I found out, and I was bullied. And I think that for me, I have to remove blame, and I have to also accept the things, and I have to say, all right, these are the things that are wrong or that are right. And it's, as a parent, we can all fall down that silly trap. I mean, I saw a commercial recently where it talks about where do kids get that nastiness from, and it's got the mother that's watching the Real Housewives and saying, oh, I can't believe her, why is she wearing that, and what's she doing, and it's a mindset the kids are learning from their parents, right? So it's everybody,
right? It's
everybody and everywhere. So I think it's we're not there yet as a collective group, and that
right.
We all have to work together for that. One of the things that's kind of interesting to me, middle school in Easton now is 6th, 7th, and 8th, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because it was 6th when I was here. It was where the on the top of the hill across from the Rockery. That used to be the middle school.
Oh wow!
Yes, that's where that was. It was some 5th grade and then 6th grade. The entire 6th grade was there, and then it was junior high school. So middle school was literally 1 year. You went in Easton when I was here in the 80s and 90s. Going through the system, it was K through 5. Was either at Center, Moreau Hall, Northeastern Grammar, or the across from right on Main Street, drawing a blank. That was Northeastern Grammar. And then you went from 5th grade, you went to 6th grade at the top of the hill across from the Rockery. Then you went to where the middle school is now. That was 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Weird.
And then you went 10th, 11th, and 12th in the high school. So when you said middle school, I'm like, 6th grade, how many kids? It's not a lot of kids. It's a high percentage. But even still, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade with about a 3,600 student, if I remember correctly, 3,600, 3,700 student school district. 6th, 7th, 8th grade is about 900 kids. You're almost at 2% of the total school population in the middle school in a grassroots effort of walking from the middle school to the Y1 so for 3 hours. You got almost 2% of the total student population that's interested in coming and doing this. I think that says something. I think that says that there's a lot more kids that are feeling the way that you're talking about than we think, right?
There's a lot of lonely kids out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's we've had kids come to the door and not be able to make it in, and is that the pressure of society? I don't know. Or are they just afraid what's going to be on the other side of that door? Yeah. It's really hard to say. But this group, they're really they're just awesome kids, really good kids, and some of them have had quite a time dealing with bullies. So.
Yeah. One of the other things you said was that you were experiencing people who were having a hard time going through the day. And I was saying, is this adults? Is this kids? It was adults that you were having this understanding with. And then you were saying, if it's us, if it's adults, and what are kids feeling like? Were you aware of the challenges that your child or other children, were you having those discussions with kids too to get to this point? Or was it just kind of like,
well, the other thing was so during COVID, I was working with Alzheimer's patients as an aide. So my schedule was more flexible and open. So I was working, I don't know how it came about, but when I was working at the Y, Darcy approached me about doing the before and after school at Moreau. And I was there that September that they came back, that all the kids came back, and it was like it was just bizarre. It was crazy, but it was Moreau Hall, as you know, is a special, magical school. I really miss that school. But anyway,
they used to have, I don't know if the
love them.
principal's
So
still there.
Mr. Higgins.
Wasn't he like 7 feet tall or something?
Yeah, he's in oh my gosh, Norton or Mansfield. I'm not sure, but he's
I think he went to Norton.
literally moving to Easton. It was like we didn't know if we made you never know if you're making the right decision.
That's the job of a parent.
Because that school, and that school was so outdated, but it was about a week or two when we're like, okay, we made the right choice. This place is unreal. So the teachers, and I don't know if this is a good thing to say, but when the kids came back, their main focus, it was like the only thing they were concerned with was the kids. Are you okay? Are you okay? That's, are they learning? Maybe, maybe not. Let's get them settled. And I was so in awe of how they handled the kids. And it made me, think, how much more support, how can we help and kind of build on this amazing school system that we have. So, I don't know. I guess we were all struggling, and I just wanted to do something about it.
Do you think that we were struggling before COVID? And COVID is a good thing that it brought awareness to us. Do you ever think about that? Because I think about it all the time. Because mental health wasn't a discussion topic. It wasn't it wasn't as recognized as it is today. And it was COVID that we talked about isolation, and we talked about feeling of being lonely and having serious depression and everything else. I think a lot of it, this was here, but we were blind to it.
I think that the world the world has turned upside down, and people are feeling their feels to the max, much harder than they were before. Why? I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it because, people always say, I hear so many people complain about humans and how awful they are, but it's made us I think, aware that we truly need each other. I think that being so isolated did something to us, and that we need, and this is going to sound cheesy, but we need each other more now than we ever have. So, and it's not just, and I'll say it's not just the kids that need the social support, the adults do too, because I don't know, people are struggling, and it's just tough. So I feel bad when I hear someone saying that they're having a hard time with life, and I hear it so often.
Yeah.
It's
it's something I hear all the time. And you asked me what I did. And this is what I find that's interesting with, we're having this discussion, and 20 minutes ago there were 6 people sitting in the conference room at ECAT Studios, breaking bread or raising Villa Pizza, many for the first time of knowing each other and having incredible dialogue, complimentary discussion, no nastiness, meanness. There wasn't a negative thing said throughout that whole interaction, which was on the fly. It wasn't planned. It wasn't like, hey, let's do a meeting request and have a 12 o'clock lunch, or have this or have that. And I think what you're saying is, I think a lot of what you're saying is spot on. I think being around better people in many cases. I think a lot of us struggle with who's in our circle, who's around us, who's encouraging us, who's supporting us.
Right.
Well, I never met you in person until, and I don't even know if we talked at the Y event over the summer. It was kind of a blur.
And Billy's cookout at 4th of July. I think I
didn't go.
That as well?
I didn't go to that.
Didn't.
No,
okay.
I didn't.
It was just chaotic.
But if there might have been someone that was strikingly good looking, that was an amazing dancer that was
That's
there.
What it was. Yeah.
I saw Coach dance, and I got a video of Coach Nixon dancing out there,
I love that.
cutting
That's
it
awesome.
up. We've literally, this is our first in-person interaction. But I've just been a huge supporter of everything that you're doing, because I know what you're doing is good. And I think that it's got an amazing opportunity of awareness. The one of the good examples, I had a podcast with a young man, Jared, and he's from Pennsylvania, and he came up to me and he said, "I listen to your podcast." Never met the guy. Was on a show floor in Ocean City, Maryland.
I love that.
And he said, "I listen to your podcast." And I said, "Oh." He says, "I listen to the Gus podcast," which Gus Taravanian in Easton. Yeah.
Yep.
And they do the acts of kindness.
Yep.
And he says, "Well, my son's name is Gus." I said, "Well, what are the chances?" He says, "My son's got Down syndrome," which is what Gus Taravanian. Yeah. And we started talking, and he was telling me about this program that the Y in Pennsylvania that his son goes to, that is the Diverse Abilities program, that is for kids like us, and they're wanting to expand the program. I'm like, that's fantastic. There should be more of that. And what's interesting is I travel the country. I do a lot of work with schools and towns and communities and people and things. And your program is one of the first ones that I've seen or experienced, and I'm like, wow, this is all the right reasons for anyone and everyone. There's no qualification. Got to breathe, you know, originally for middle schoolers, but you're not going to turn anybody away. You got to take a little walk. But everybody's invited, and you've got support from folks. And it's gone so far as you actually have some, and fill in the blanks. You've got a couple of juniors or seniors. 3 volunteers. Honor Society kids that are now.
They're amazing. The first week.
How did they get there?
Denise, she propels this group with everything she does. We do as a team, but she found them. I don't know. She made a connection with the person that runs the Honor Society, and these girls heard about our program and reached out to Denise. And the first week, so we give them, the Y offers the kids full access to the building. What we do is they have this teen room, and Denise and I, we do monitor, but from afar, we try to give them their space, because we want them to make these bonds and know that we trust them. And so sometimes we'll split up the group where half will stay in the teen room. The other half will go to the group fit room.
Mhm.
And so Denise and I were running back and forth because it was like the first or second week. We didn't want to leave the volunteers alone yet. And so in the midst of switching, we regrouped in the hallway. And then I went down to group fit. And I was nervous because I didn't hear a thing. And these kids are so loud in that room. They go like it's like they're unleashed.
Yeah.
I walk in and my daughter and like a bunch of kids are sitting in this circle and they're so engaged. The girls are talking to them and listening to them.
Mhm.
And the kids are like excited that these big kids want to talk to them and take the time for them. So that's what we need more of, is that the peer connections and
The elder peer.
Oh, these kids have been, and you know, one of them just said to us last week, we love this, that, you know, that you've given us this opportunity to do this because it is so important and it's so simple. I mean, we went to, one of the kids had a 13th birthday party over the summer and we went and we had the best time. Most of the kids from the group went, and the mom turned to me and she was like, this is her first friend party. And I was like, okay. It made me feel good, but it's like, how many more kids, you know, have we reached or can we reach? And, you know, we have so many things that we have to figure out, but, you know, the idea of this, you know, if this could spread, you know, a way to get this across the country so that, you know, every kid in every town has something like this, you know, because it's the thought of a kid being lonely and not having a friend and feeling hopeless that just kills me.
Yeah. Well, you and I are close to the same age. I'm a little bit more a year older. You missed my colonoscopy episode, so I'm at that age.
Okay.
But we grew up in a time where if you didn't have friends, you were just considered a loner. That was just you. Yeah. And in our conversation, I talked about how at lunch with everybody that you know, outside of what I do, and outside of some other certain like circles, I like to be alone with my family. Like I don't need a lot, but even with that, I still need something. And I think everybody does. And I think that's that acknowledgement, that 13-year-old. I mean, I'm just, it's heartbreaking to think that 13-year-old probably wanted to have a friend party before 13.
Right.
Great that you had it at 13, but you know, and the fact that you're doing it now is great. But how do we get to the, you know, 10, 11, 9, 8, whatever the age is?
And the high school.
And it's hard, right? It's so hard. And what you know, I love this junior piece because it's a mentorship program, right? It's a buddy system.
Right.
And as our kids get older, as cool as we are, because like I
was just about to go there.
I am I'm really cool. Like
we are so lame, Josh.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
No, I'll tell you. I talk about I talk about my fiance Amy all the time. My kids. I'm convinced that should my kids, either of them, go away to school, they're probably going to want her to go with them. Not like to like, they just love her. Like she's got massive cool points. Me,
not so much.
I got no cool points. Yeah. I get none.
I try, but it fails every time.
That's probably where the breakdown is, because I think I try to be cool and I don't, and she just naturally just does her thing and the kids just love her. But there's a lot of kids out there that don't have that luxury of having even parents that try. And this is one of the questions that I'm asking myself, and I'll put it out there, is like, I'm just curious how many parents have conversations with their kids about this stuff. Like how many parents are truly cognizant and understanding. And social media is just the devil. It's bad for us. It's awful for these kids because they think that's what life is.
You know, and yeah, and it's concerning to COVID and the lack of being connected with others, not just the kids, but all of us. Will it cause a ripple effect? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm not waiting. I wasn't willing to wait for the ripple effect. I wanted to do something about it. And we are talking about doing something similar with the high school, but it's like a whole different beast. And, I said to the women that we've met with talking about it that I was very cautious about even doing this for the middle school. I'm like, you guys have to just be very.
Middle school's a tough time.
It's, yeah.
In between is the right. I mean, they're not teenagers in most cases. They're not teenagers yet. They're getting ready to be. They're figuring themselves out. The beginnings of things like puberty and
then you throw in
birds and the
COVID and
all this
shutting
stuff.
down the world, and it's
growing up too fast.
It's a lot, yeah. And this is, at least with my kids. My husband and I, we figured with them we're smart enough. They'll figure out the books. We instill kindness in them, and we see that when we go and we meet with the school, the teachers and stuff, that they are kind kids. And it's just so important that I get that there's a weight, that we're all feeling the weight harder than we ever have before. But you just have to consider being kind or trying. And that's where this group comes in. These kids support each other. I mean, they just do, it's and some of them have had a rough go of it. So are there rules? I'm assuming there's rules, because you're saying be kind. I mean, do you guys have to? Sometimes they can get crazy.
Well, I get the sense that what you're doing is you're getting kids that want to be kind. Maybe some of them may not know how to be kind because they haven't been shown how to be kind. But I get the feeling that all of the kids want to be kind, and they want to be involved. They want to be loved. They want to be engaged, and they want to be engaging. But do you have these are the ground rules, and you need to, this is what's required, or is it?
No, we're not. I mean, we haven't had to do that. Yes, they do get crazy. And, kids have gotten hurt where, it's just how it is. They just go crazy. But
kids have gotten hurt. That's going to go down as well.
It's just how it is, right? I mean, they're crazy, but we're not, and I don't know if that's a good thing to say. We're just not super strict about it, because we try to give them
the freedom,
to figure it out. And we've talked, Darcy and Denise and I, we have meetings every other week. How do we make this program better? And how do we reach the bullies? How do we reach the ones that maybe don't know the effect that they have on other kids? And we've talked about those things, and I am welcome to any ideas from any of your listeners for in any facet of this group. But that's part of why I wanted to do this, was A, get this idea out, and B, if anyone has any ideas, we welcome it all.
That's a rabbit hole that all in itself, because you got to think about, when you say how do we get to the bullies, some of them, many of them, like I said, I know I was confronted that I bullied someone in a really bad situation that was traumatic for me, that I wasn't even aware of.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Probably didn't even know, and the same thing happened to me.
It was a trigger effect that and I don't even want to say I was a bully. I was probably just a wise clown to someone at an earlier age.
But it hurt deeper than you.
And it hurt that person a whole lot more than I even.
That's so tough.
So when you say how do you get to the bullies, I think a lot of them don't even know that they're bullies. And I think that I think one of the challenges, and this is one of the challenges in my profession as a public speaker and an inspirational speaker, for lack of a better word, being a hype guy for people. And when I go out, I have somebody for an hour. It's 168 hours in a week, just in a week. I'm not going to fix anything in an hour. I'm going to start something. I'm not going to fix anything. And I think the biggest challenge is a lot of times programs will do something and they'll say, yes, we did this 8-hour program, or yes, we brought this group in that talked about the importance of being good to each other, and didn't realize that it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. We can't fix all of this. This challenge that we have didn't all come in 1 hour.
Right.
It all didn't come here in an hour, so we can't fix it all in an hour. And I think that's we have to have resilience and focus, and we have to play the long game. We have to say, all right, we need to have, it's like I've been to some schools where they'll have posters that say bully free zone, right, on the hallways.
Right.
And I'll ask somebody, what does that mean? Well, no bullies are allowed. Well, do we know who the bullies are? Do the bullies know who the bullies are? What are you doing for education? What are you doing to show people what a bully actually looks like?
Right.
Because what we think a bully looks like might not be what people think, because a bully isn't somebody that puts you in a locker and leaves you there, or beats you up, or steals your books, or takes your food, or tips your tray, or any of the things that you'd see in a movie, right? A bully is saying somebody's stupid.
Right.
A bully is making fun of somebody's shoes. A bully is, telling people about, how poor they are, or where they live, or what they do, or something, even if it's in a joking fashion. That could be bullying, because that could really be traumatic and affecting someone that's heard it a number of times. And so it's really educating people on the power of their words. It's not just the physical piece of it,
Right.
because that's what we look at a lot of times. Like, a lot of times we don't hear about the traumatic stuff that comes with words and action. It's the physical. It's the some of the mental language. I like the social media stuff, which is bothering me, where kids are bullied on social media. Like, we're behind, in my opinion. We're behind in how we're treating things. Like, there's just so many. Like, when I was a kid, right? When I was a kid, you were picked on. You decide to fight. You go to where the speed bump used to be at junior high school, middle school. You duked it out. Everything was good and done, right? You didn't like somebody. You wrote something nasty in their yearbook. They give you a yearbook to sign at the end of the year, and you sign it, and you're a jerk or something. Like, there was these things that were happening, and now these kids are doing things on
They're
Instagram or TikTok or Snapchat or any of these places, and they're putting it out for the world or for thousands of people to see. And that trauma is just massive. And I don't think we do enough as a society as a whole, as like we lock our 16-year-old down. Like, we're paying for your phone. You're not going on all the social media sites. You're not doing all those things. You can do the things that are fair and within reason, and that a 16-year-old should do, but you don't have carte blanche to do whatever you want, say whatever you want, show whatever you want. That just not happening. And that's not everywhere.
Well, and this is a conversation for another day, but they don't really have great examples. They see the adults and the way we act.
Right.
We act like morons sometimes, like, people get so angry. I mean, with politics, and I'm not going to get into that, but that was before COVID. That was like another thing that kids saw, the way adults were acting. So where do you go from here? You either make a decision to be a better person and you be a good example for your kids. Mm-hmm. And that's, and I'm far from perfect. I have so many flaws, but at least my kids see that I'm trying.
Yeah. Work in progress.
Right. I mean, I don't always make the right decisions, and they see that, and they should see that, but you just do what you can. Yeah.
Well, that's been a learning lesson as an adult and as a parent for me, is that if you don't show your kids that you do things wrong, they're going to be afraid to do things wrong too.
Right.
And we can't do everything right.
And I stress that to my kids. I'm like, this is like the worst thing as a parent. You literally never know if you're making the right decision. You have good intentions and you try to make the best decisions you can for your family, but it just is what it is.
And you're talking to a growing mind that has a million things going on in it, and can't relate because they haven't gotten to where you are, and they're about anywhere between 20 and 40 years away from it. And so that's tough. So back to your group. You said you want to grow this. Is that the vision, is to bring more awareness beyond the town lines? Have you talked to people in other communities? Have you invited other communities? I'm asking you all sorts of questions I haven't asked you, that I didn't ask, so I'm putting you on the spot. So just tell me to shut up at any time.
No, you're fine.
But is that something you've started to do? Is that something you envision doing?
I reached out to another organization. I believe they're in Mansfield. Just making connections with as many people as possible. I even have made calls to other parts of the country that run anti-bullying programs that have been successful, just to see what are they doing, why is it successful. I don't always get a call back, but so I lost my train of thought. What was the question?
Yeah, as far as if you're planning on, you want to expand this.
Yeah, I mean, it's ideal. That was part of why, I knew that the Y would be very open to the idea of assisting the community, but I also had ulterior motives because I knew from working there that our location was the start of a lot of programs, from my understanding, that picked up across the country.
Yeah.
So if the Y has that power to do that, then that's what I want. If this program, once we have to kind of fine tune, get everything sorted, and then once that's done, I really hope this explodes and just goes everywhere, every Y, because the Y also works with the local schools and you're reaching a greater community. I am an idealist, I guess. So I see we are capable of being better, and I want these kids to know that that is there for them, and there is better, that doesn't have to be lonely,
Yeah. So this is every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday, after school.
Do
So I
you take the summer off, or do you guys do Wednesday?
No, we ran through the summer.
Okay.
We offered it, and we had, it was choppy here and there, but we always had kids show up. We did we have had the community, the moms pages sent money and donations our way. So we've taken the kids to like Altitude to just do something fun. Yeah. And just going back to Will work, I mean, Billy has been amazing with supporting this program. And so Denise and I leave early every Wednesday, and we go and we meet the kids on the corner, and we can hear them before we see them. Usually they all come out together, and we'll either drive down, walk down to the Y. We always stop at the store. They get their snacks. We go back to the Y, and we usually just kind of make sure that they're good, and we leave them. And that's every Wednesday until 5. Sometimes we'll take them for walks, and we have things planned where we're going to bring in, I guess, like guest speakers. We've had people offer to teach art to the kids. I'm hoping to do photography classes, things like that, because I don't know, I would love to be able to offer that, but keeping in mind that we never want to charge.
Oh, it's going to be you're self-funded and no fees.
Because people these days are struggling financially too, and other groups that are social, I've had to pay for them, and it's a struggle. So
you welcome donations, but by the sounds of things, you're getting donations from the moms.
We welcome donations, but we also, to be completely honest, feel weird about taking them because we are not an established nonprofit. We are just kind of affiliated with the Y. So we kind of suggest people make donations, to Darcy in our favor. And Darcy's been, she's been awesome. Like, we'll show up and she'll have pizzas and drinks ordered for the kids just as a random treat. The pool's open, they get to go swimming. We'll go over, take walks to Oliver Ames Estates, and that's always a nice time. The kids, I don't know, they'll complain about the walking and all that, but that's usually when we connect the most, is when we're outside.
Yeah.
And it's not always, sunshine and roses. Sometimes we have to deal with struggle in the group, but they do work it out, and there's never really been any real issue.
And are you buying the snacks for them on Wednesdays, or they
sometimes, yeah. For the most part, we use the funds that are donated, but Denise and I have paid for things.
Where do you guys
on
go?
our own. for snacks.
Yeah.
We'll go to like the Peach or
The
Darcy.
Peach?
Yeah, the Peach. Or Darcy will.
Great name.
Right?
Yeah.
Or Darcy will grab us stuff at Walmart.
Yeah. Okay. So that is wild. That is wild what you've done. I mean, you should be proud of yourself, first of all. You and Denise should you deserve to tip your hat a little bit every once in a while, because there's so many people that see something and do nothing, right? They see something and they talk about it, or they say, I wish somebody would. And you saw it, you had the vision, and you were fortunate. I mean, you had some stars align, right? You have a great boss that allows you to leave work early on Wednesdays. You had the why relationship. I mean, you had a lot of pieces of the puzzle that were already there that helped you. But you did it. You stepped up. You said, this is something that needs to be done, not just for the greater good of my kids, but for the greater good of the community. I mean, you're talking about 2%. 2% of our kids in one section of our district is a lot of kids, right? That's a lot of kids that are feeling lonely. No percent of kids should feel lonely. No percent of kids should be hungry, or any of these issues that we struggle with today. And when you talk about, when I grew up, I never knew that there were kids that were homeless or without a place to go, or didn't know where the next meal was going to come from. And there's probably a couple hundred in our community, and we don't have a big community today. And so the fact that you've stepped up, and the fact that other groups like the Moms Club and others have stepped up to support you and to do things, the outreach in 10 months without fanfare, without being an official 501c3, which people typically, that's something that they want to be a part of, and they get their acknowledgement and things. But people that are quietly supporting you and cheering you on, and making sure that the kids don't go without, being self-funded and fee-free it's not really heard of. So first of all, hats off to you and Denise for doing this, for stepping up. Thank you to the Y for doing what they do. I mean, you basically said that the Easton Y is the epicenter of awesomeness for the YMCA's. I put those words in your mouth for you, but
you absolutely should do that.
That's what I like to say. I
cannot sing their praises enough.
I have it has been an honor to serve on the Board of Governors for the last 3 years, and I've watched and seen things. It's all too often looked at as just a fitness center and a pool and
people have no idea.
There's a lot that goes on there, a lot of work that goes on.
Yeah, I worked at that desk. I saw so much good there. And
well, they do it behind the scenes. I mean, they're not going to tell you about the people that come in before work to take a shower because they don't have warm water at their house, or they don't have a house. They're not going to tell you about the clothes that they give to people to wear, because those people are in our community. So a lot of their work is not seen. Their most awesome work is not seen, just like the in-between was not seen until today, other than your posts and a couple of other things. And so I'm excited. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to seeing how this grows and expands. I'm looking forward to seeing how you build this out to help other communities, because Easton's not a bubble. I say it's a bubble in a good way, because we're a very fortunate community in a lot of aspects. In this aspect, we're not in a bubble. Every community has this challenge, and I bet 100%. Every community in middle schools probably has 2 to 5% of the kids that if you gave this program an opening and an opportunity, they would jump right at it and say, I want to go someplace that I belong. And I'm amazed at that. So you're giving us, you weren't planning on coming for a pizza party. You got here a few minutes.
This was nice.
You got here a few minutes late, which I was running late, which we had.
It worked out.
We got to have lunch, and you've got to get back to work. So here's the questions. How do people get a hold of you? What do the parents, kids in the community of Easton do to get involved or to come on to Wednesdays? And it sounds like donations can be made to the Easton Y in
if they want to, in honor of the in-between. Yeah,
in honor of the in-between.
I did want to call it the Breakfast Club, but people were like, no one's going to get that. But yeah, how to reach me, I'm not sure. I can coordinate with you on that if you want to post.
You're on LinkedIn.
I am. I'm on LinkedIn. They can for sure
spell your last name, because I butcher it.
It's Gaughen.
And we'll put that in the show
notes.
First
name is Erin. Yeah.
Okay.
So LinkedIn and
you're active in the fastest response time of anybody on LinkedIn. So I would say that's probably the best.
I'm in sales, so I have to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this has been great. And I really, truly hope that once we get more things sorted that I can bring Denise and Darcy ideally back with me. Because Darcy, she just does so much for our community.
Yeah, once you're on, you have an open invitation.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Anybody that comes on the podcast and shares their story and talks about what they're doing, they've already passed the sniff test of BeAuSm. So it's easy. And the second podcast is even better than the first. So,
awesome. I look forward to it.
So we'll look forward to having you, maybe a yearly update at the very least to see where you're at a year from now. That can give us a challenge, right? They can give you a challenge of, hey, I want to go back. I want to make sure we're better.
Yeah.
And just keep up the awesome work and keep those Wednesday walks going or drives or what have you. And I'll tell you, if you're a local community and you can give anything as far as resources to support this organization, whether you have an activity that you can do. I mean, heck, Auntie Zazas can come over and teach you guys how to do some knitting of with yarn work.
We'll
and I can go over and learn because I got to learn how to do yarn work. But if there's any local businesses in Easton that think that they can support these kids in some way to either provide them with an activity or something that works, reach out to the Y, reach out to Erin, reach out to me. I know how to get a hold of them all. And let's make sure these kids have fun. Let's make sure these kids get to be kids. And let's make sure that all of the kids in the town feel comfortable joining a program like this to not feel lonely and feel good about themselves and look forward to having birthday parties with other kids there and not being alone. So this is awesome stuff. I'm glad we finally got to have this episode, and we'll look forward to the next one.
Thank you.
And that's going to do it for this episode. I'm wrapping up with episode 4 recorded here in just a minute. I'm not even going to give Adam a minute. I'm going to just tell him to keep the play going. But this has been a great experience for me. As always, I can't thank my local Easton Cable Access Television, ECAT, for providing the studio, providing Adam's resources for me to do these recordings, give me the time to have these guests and do all these things. If you have a local community access television, be sure to support it. If not financially, make sure that the powers that be, the people that pay for it, keep these programs going. It's more than cable. They're doing things on YouTube. They're providing information. They're in essence giving your community a time capsule. I'm going to be long gone, and ECAT is going to have my recordings on, just like they have some Tuesday night trivia from the 80s.
I'm going to back you up, though. This is a great team. This is a great team. You're very lucky. It is an
awesome team. We are very lucky. And I don't want to say we have the best because I don't know of any others, but we have the best. So thank you all. And you're going to hear Adam's story, and we're going to talk a bit. And that'll do it from here. As always, 5-star rating and reviews on audio podcast platforms. Subscribe, share, like, comment. All positive stuff is greatly appreciated. Share with your friends, and if it's not good stuff, I don't mind having difficult conversations and learning what we could do better. Josh@BeAuSm.com is my email address. Drop me a line. I do respond to every email, and I'll do whatever I can do to keep things going and make them good. So, in the meantime, if you can be anything, be awesome. And thanks again for joining.
Thank you.
Coming to you from underneath a peach blossom. It's time for an episode of BeAuSm. Find positivity throughout your life and work. Just like our mascot rooster, Steve the Jerk.